Aloha mahalo as we look at OKO Knife Counter number 12. In the last one, we are on the outside of the opponent's arm. This time we're on the inside. It's going to be a right straight pokey pokey, and we're going to be on the inside of the arm. Once again, this is in our green zone, 12 o'clock, left leg slightly forward. As he comes in, I want to close that distance. I want to control the distance. I don't want my opponent to determine the distance. I need to. Mr. Parker had a phrase that make distance your friend. And everybody has assumed that that is creating distance rather than using the distance that you have. In other words, in this particular case, as he comes in, I want to go to a zone of sanctuary. As we've talked about before, no, I don't have the paper with me. As we have had before, we have 4 corners on your screen, correct? I'm in the middle. We have your 45-degree angles are zones of sanctuary. If you retreat to those 4 corners, or there's 2 more. There's one immediately in front of your opponent and immediately behind your opponent. In this particular case, I want to close the gap and be right in front of my opponent. So as he does that, I'm going to step in with my left foot and close that gap. I'm going to do a left and right outward knife hand block and control the weapon, and I'm going to snake with my right arm underneath his arm and grab my own. If I grab a stick, once again, I've said it a million times, sticks are the best training tools. Once again, straight knife, step in, block. On a snake, creating 3 points of contact. I'm now controlling the knife hand with my left. Knife added. Once again, I'm now controlling it. I'm going to shift weight forward. I'm going to borrow his balance and his force for that knee. Now, this is going to be an interesting flip, shall we say. My right foot is going to go from 6 to 9 o'clock. My opponent's 6 to 9. So I've kneed. I'm going to up clock, and in doing so, I'm pulling his armpit with my arm, causing him to flip. Now, as I do so, I'm going to control his arm, bringing his arm and wrist towards him. I'm going to then strip the weapon, strike, cross, and cover out. Once again, when we're always dealing with a knife, club, or gun, we deviate, deflect, control, and disarm. I've deviated and deflected the path of the weapon. I've now controlled it. Now, each of these, deviate, deflect, control, and disarm, are not necessarily equal time widths apart. In other words, you can deviate, deflect quickly, have a longer period of control, and then a shorter time of disarm, and any permutation of the 4. Once again, here in OKO Knife Counter number 12, we have several different lessons, concepts, and principles which are very interesting. Number 1, reintroduction of snaking to help control. We're borrowing balance and borrowing force for that knee strike. We have 3 points of contact. Once again, when I have the stick, added 3 points. A 6-point lock, meaning as we count up the digits in our arms, if I can get 6 of those points locked together, I have an effective lock. Any less than 6 is not as ideal of a lock. We're modifying our opponent's height, width, and depth, giving us time. And once again, going to the corners, immediate in front or immediately rear of our opponent, is our zones of sanctuary when especially dealing with circular weapons. Once again, this has been OKO Knife Counter number 12. Aloha, mahalo, and live pono.